So a few weeks ago, a company reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to try out their electronic viewfinder. Not to necessarily make a video on it, but just to kind of see what it was about. And to be honest, I found this thing a little too interesting to not make a video on it. So in this video, I'm gonna be putting this EVF to the test, telling you if it's a good recommendation to add to your camera and how does it compare to a traditional monitor. What's going on, guys? Today, I get to talk about something I've always wanted to talk about, electronic viewfinders. Now, I have never really owned an electronic viewfinder outside for the ones built into my camera because they are like incredibly expensive and usually they're only through SDI ports. Now, every camera I own does not have an SDI port. I only have HDMI. So Portkeys reached out to me and they were like, hey, we have an HDMI viewfinder for you to try if you are interested. And as somebody who has always used an external monitor, I mean like always for all of my film stuff, I was curious to see how a proper viewfinder compared. Now, this is going to be a budget look at a budget viewfinder and a budget monitor. So what I decided to do is I decided to get two things for you guys. I have the viewfinder here and I've kind of attached this to my camera, you know, just in the natural way that I would use a viewfinder. And I also have an awesome monitor alternative. So let's talk about each of them. Overall, the budget for this is $400. The viewfinder comes in at exactly $400 and the monitor comes in at under $300. So honestly, which one should we choose? So let's talk about the viewfinder. This is the Portkeys HDMI viewfinder. This thing is super lightweight. It comes with everything you need to plug it into a power source. So it comes with a D-tap cable and a standard DC port. It also has built-in function controls. So if you don't have like camera functions on your camera, so waveforms, false color, peaking, stuff like that, this thing has them built in. So if you are lacking that, this might be the thing for you. But personally, I use the functions that are built into my Blackmagic because I'm so used to them. So I use this as a clean feed. Now, the monitor. This is the Andy Cine C6. This thing, this thing is way better than any of their old monitors. It has a 2600 nit peak brightness. This thing has much better build quality, HDMI pass-through, built-in functions like false color and peaking, and you get all of that for under $300 in a 6-inch monitor. This thing is deadly for the price. The rig that I have this attached to, thankfully, since this monitor has HDMI pass-through, I was able to just put both of them on my rig and run my HDMI to my monitor, out from the monitor to the viewfinder. That way I'm getting the exact same feed on both, and I can go out in the field and shoot and see which one I naturally use more. I have the viewfinder hooked up to an adjustable small rig arm, so you can literally adjust the angle however you want to. And same with the monitor, it is on a traditional monitor mount. That way everything is fair game. So let's talk about the experience. The EVF was so much fun to use. A lot of these huge cinema cameras have electronic viewfinders built into them, or so there's something that you can add, and it really helps to nail down like your composition, or if you want to keep the camera close to your body, this thing lets you add another point of contact for more reliable and more stable footage. Plus, if you're using a shoulder rig, this thing is the go-to. Like, having an eyepiece for your shoulder rig is one of the best things that you can add to complement. So if you're a person that uses a shoulder rig, go ahead, grab the viewfinder because you can skip all of this. But from what I've noticed, there's definitely an art to using the viewfinder. It makes me feel more intentional about what I'm shooting because to shoot the shot, I actually have to put more effort into it than normal. I can't just sit there and pan the camera or, you know, handhold and point it at something. I have to get real up close and personal to my camera, and that lets me not focus on anything else in the world and keep my eye on my subject. The only major downside that I saw to this EVF was the screen inside of it was a little small. Now that's not a bad thing, but my expectations going in was that the screen was going to fill up all of my field of view. It was going to be like I'm in an IMAX theater or something like that. No, it is just a smaller screen inside of there, so Don't be like me and have extremely high expectations. It is just a reliable monitor to consistently use in super bright sunlight. And I believe as a black magic shooter, this is a reliable piece of gear to add to your kit, because we don't have the best screen on the back of the Black Magic and it is not articulating. So if you want to travel and stay extremely lightweight, you can plug this thing right into the power base edge off of D-Tap, and man, you don't have to worry about charging extra batteries. You don't have to worry about hooking anything else into this thing. You just slap it on your camera and you're good to go. Now let's talk about the monitor. This quickly became my favorite budget monitor, or might be my favorite monitor for the money. Like, holy crap, Andy Cine way to step it up from the original designs. The old ones had a more plastic build, like legit it would creak if you adjusted it during the shoots. It wasn't insanely bright, and it was just a budget monitor. Whenever you think about budget monitors, it was the one you thought about. But this was kind of surprising, because a 2600 nit brightness screen is one thing, but improving the build quality is a second, and then dropping the price to under $300. This is the one I'm recommending. Like, if you are looking for a field monitor and you don't need a recorder, this is the one I'm recommending, because even in crazy bright sunlight, I can still see my image perfectly fine. Wonderful, wonderful feature of a 2600 nit monitor. And that was the main reason it was chosen to go against the Viewfinder, because most of the time a Viewfinder would easily win, because if you're in bright sunlight, you can't see the monitor. But now you have something that is 2600 nits. So now you have a good choice. You could honestly go either or. Now, the downside to the Andy Cine monitor: I hate the menus, I hate the functions, I hate everything about the software inside of it. As someone who comes from the small HD side of things, that feels like an Apple-like experience, this is just a little behind. But if you're a Black Magic shooter, you don't have to interact with the menus. You don't have to interact with any of that, because you can use this monitor as a clean feed, and I can punch in my false color, I can punch in my peaking, my LUTs, all of that from my Black Magic camera body. So that is why I love this monitor, because it is one of the best screens. And that's all I use it for, is just the screen. So, verdict. I've done a lot of talking. Personally, what did I find out while using these things in the field? I found myself using the monitor more for my general shots. So if I was just out and about filming, definitely I went and used the monitor. But if I was trying to get some movement, pan or anything, I would use the Viewfinder. Like, I naturally brought the camera up to my eye if I wanted to move it, because that adds another point of contact, and that made everything feel a lot better. So this is my thought. If you are somebody who, you do a lot of travel film, you want to travel a lot and keep things light, you shoot a lot of handheld, you're really artsy and you're making beautiful projects, then I could definitely recommend you get the Viewfinder. And if you're somebody who, you are shooting interviews, you are doing a lot of client work, some production things, I recommend you get the monitor, because it is awesome to have a reliably bright monitor on your side. Because if you don't need external recording like the Ninja, like what I'm currently filming to, if you don't need any of the extra bells and whistles, then for the money, man, this thing is hard to beat. But for the convenience, the Viewfinder is also hard to beat. So what a tough choice. But with that all being said, that's all I have for you today, guys. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you loved it, consider subscribing, because we're bringing you more content just like this every week. So you guys stay safe, you're loved, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.